Hi guys, welcome back. It is Lupa here. I have been doing this all morning, and in fact, I already have a copy of this video uploaded to my channel. 17 minutes long. I know shorter the better. And so I thought I would do this again, and I'm determined to make it shorter than 17 minutes. But we're going to be talking about something that's part of my life. It affects my day-to-day life. It is a major factor in quite a bit of my challenges at the moment in this chapter of my life, but it's not who I am. It's not my identity, and that's what I want to talk about. Why don't you grab a drink, a snack? I have the pecan coffee from Starbucks. Good thing I got a tall because I didn't really like it. It's too much of a brown sugar profile, and I'm not really into that kind of stuff. But I spend my money on it, so I have to drink it. Anyways, if you guys do enjoy this video, please like, subscribe, share, comment down below what you guys think, your experiences. I love hearing your stories when you guys do send me messages. And don't forget to hit the notification bell to be notified every time I upload a new video. With that said, let's get into the video. I never move a lot, and if I do, I feel like I move too much, and I'm like, what do I do? You know, I don't want to just stand here like I'm not able to meet your eyes, so it's like, is it awkward? Anyway, so we're gonna talk about my blindness. As you guys know, I try not to make it about my blindness, even though a lot of my challenges is because I'm blind, because assignments aren't accessible, or I experience certain things out in the community. So even though I really didn't want this channel to be about my blindness, you know, it's about my life, and even though I don't want it to be my identity, it is part of my life and a major part of my life when it comes to interaction with the community, with accessibility, with school, and other aspects of life, you know. So I don't think I've done a video like this, and if I have, I do apologize. So we're gonna do a quick timeline of my blindness and then just talk about it. Okay, so I started going blind at the age of 5, so I was considered what we used to call high partial or functioning vision. I had quite a bit of functioning vision, usable vision, up until the age of 12. One of the things I will say here is that I attended an elementary school called Francis Bland. I think it was not called an elementary school, it was more like an institution. I think it was a remnant of what it used to be like when schools were segregated, and as a child I didn't see it that way. There was a few times that I do remember being sad looking through the fence at the other kids playing in the other playground, but I never thought, you know, we're being segregated. That school is no longer that way, and if you try looking it up, it's hard to find actual facts about what it used to be like. I think it's now, instead of Francis Bland and Venice or Van Ness, it's all Van Ness now. So what used to be that elementary school was divided into two. One side was all the kids with disabilities, with like physical, mental, or visual, or anything that was considered a disability. They were there. And then on the other side of the fence were all the quote unquote typical normal elementary age students. So in those 7 years, because I was there from the age of 5 to the age of 12, I feel like there were some benefits, but a lot more. I think I missed out on a lot more. Now that I'm an adult, I look at the students that attended, you know, an elementary school that had a resource room, but they were able to go into the general education classes and stuff like that, and I see the difference in how they, you know, they're able to interact with other students, how they make friends and stuff like that, to compare to the students that I know. You know, I know that with me it was a big shock. I was kept back a year in elementary because officially in paper it was to learn Braille and more orientation and mobility skills before I left them, but unofficially I was told by two people, specifically because one was an assistant that told me, and I brought what they told me to an actual teacher, and they're like, but they didn't say, oh no, that's not true, but they didn't actually like confirm it either, which was they wanted to keep me back so that I can graduate with my group of friends. I was already going to be experiencing a major change in life. This school was like, again, segregated. I would say the benefits were that I never felt different. I never felt like my blindness made me different. I was one of the most popular students there. I knew everybody. I knew all the teachers' assistants, all the teachers. I knew all the kids. And I was like, just because one of them had an intellectual disability or they were nonverbal didn't mean that I didn't consider them as friends. So I felt comfortable to walk and do anything I wanted. I didn't feel like I had to be against the wall or in a corner or anything. And so I had that freedom to grow and to be myself. But there was a lot more cons, as I mentioned. They focused a lot on our Braille skills, our learning how to, be independent children, which is fantastic. We were at a very, very young age, we were even being taught how to cross streets, how to ask the right questions when we call the public transportation so that we can take a bus route. Like, we were learning all these skills at a very young age, which are completely necessary for, independence and day-to-day life. But I feel like they were lacking in like school subjects. They were lacking in reading us children's books. When I talked to Kim and we're like, oh, you didn't read that in class? I'm like, no, I think they were doing the most basic teachings when it came to like math and English and all of that stuff, because they were really focusing on other stuff, and that, that's understandable. But going from a school that barely had 50 students to a campus that had over 2,000 students was definitely a shock. And I was the only one that came to this middle school from my group of friends. So it was definitely a shock. And to top that all off, in that summer between elementary and middle school, that's when I had my second fade of vision. And I went from high functioning to low functioning. I went from being able to stand near you and see your face perfectly fine, meet your gaze, from standing a couple of feet from you and still be able to tell who you are, to not being able to see your features. Even if I was standing close to you, I was still able to see you, like, oh, you're there. I can see your head, the outline of your head. I can see the colors you're wearing, but I can't see if you're wearing a dress, skirt, or whatever. So it was a major change. I was going into middle school to this massive campus with all these students that didn't know how to interact with me, that were awkward, that ignored me. From being a popular student, to that, and to like being in such a major change in campus and interactions in dynamics. So it's kind of like it was a shock for me as a little kid. And being that I grew up in a household where emotions weren't, you weren't told to talk about how you were feeling, talk about your thoughts. It's either you cried, you got yelled at, you screamed, you got smacked, like it's live, deal with it kind of upbringing. And so I couldn't talk to anybody about it. I used to be a chatterbox. I am still a chatterbox with the people I'm most comfortable with, but when we're in groups, I'm not. I used to be a dancer when I was little, and that all changed, and it had to do with me, one, going even more blind, and two, such major changes, right? And my family noticed, but they never asked me what happened. And I know they noticed because later on in life, they were like, oh, we don't know what happened to you. You used to be such a, little Perry. We would call you the little Perry. Like, you would always beg us to dance with you in parties, and now you don't even want to get off your seat. And I'm like, it's because we don't talk about it, So from the age of 12 to the age of 19, I think I slowly lost my vision. And after the age of 12, the age of 16 and the age of 19 were the two next times where I noticed. And the only reason I noticed is because how I used my vision that I had left, which was using to navigate my surroundings, right? Like, I would use the buildings. Oh, that's a walkway, I can go that way. or I can see people there. And so that's how I was able to notice it fading. By the end of my senior year, I knew I no longer could see what colors people were wearing. I could see the shape of a person. I could see the buildings. I could still see the shapes of trees and stuff like that, the outlines of cars, with the sun hitting the metal. So I still had enough vision at the age of 19 where it was usable. But in the first couple of semesters in college, I noticed that quickly faded, faster than other. By my third semester of community college, which, mind you, I did miss the spring, so it would have been, I would say, a good year and a half. In that year and a half, I went from, still having enough vision to be able to use to being just light and shadows, which again, for buildings and walkways, that kind of was helpful with, especially with the sun. But I couldn't see anymore. I know I was around 10th grade when I stopped being able to see the stars, and around my senior year when I stopped being able to see the moon. And I used little things like that to see the changes in my vision. And it was not until I started watching Molly Berg that I saw one of her videos where she was talking about how she had to grieve the person she was when she went blind at the age of 14. And that video really hit me, because I'm like, for so long I was told to suck it up. I never had therapy. I never talked to anybody about my vision loss, not even to my sister or anybody, because I'm like, I don't know how to express that, And so when I went blind officially, like completely blind at the age of 26 in 2022 in November, so it's about to be 3 years this year. It was in the spans of a weekend. I was feeling sick all that month, and then that weekend I did get a headache, and by the following week I noticed that I no longer could tell the light was on or off. I was so numb. I revert to, it's part of life, deal with it and get over it and just move on. But the following year, there was a lot of things that I had to go through. I got COVID. I lost my sense of smell. I was terrified to lose Candy with her cancer diagnosis. There was a lot of other things happening in that semester that it just rolled into a massive ball of rage and confusion. And instead of like just trying to push it away, I let it roll over me. I went through it, and even then, understanding that it was okay to feel that way, I didn't talk to anybody, because I'm so used to not, like, how do you talk about how angry you are about your situation? It is what it is. They know you as their blind family member. That's all. I don't think they ever think about how mentally and emotionally it affects me, and so I dealt with that on my own, and I did work with it. And there's some times where I feel this overwhelming sense of suffocation about my blindness, but it is rare. I'm like, it is what it is, and I wish I could work through it, and I'm trying to. When those moments do come up, I try to sit down and like, okay, it's okay to feel this way. Just feel it and get through it, but don't push it away and hide from it. So one of the things that I don't want is to be identified as a blind person, and sadly that's how my family identifies me, always as a blind person, as, oh, she's blind, so she can't get married, she can't do this, she can't do that, she has intellectual disabilities. There's this word in Spanish that's Mongola or Mongolita, which means practically, in English, the R word. I really don't like saying that word, but the old-fashioned way of saying intellectual disabled, and that's essentially what it means. And I've heard it twice said it toward me, and I get so angry, because I'm like, I'm blind. I might not be the smartest person. In fact, I'm not. But I don't have any intellectual disabilities. And I don't want my disability to be my identity. And no matter how hard I try, that's how my family identifies me as. And it's frustrating because even with my achievements in life, I'm the third to go to college, and I'm the third to get a bachelor's degree. And they still say, oh, but you get help from, the department with students with disabilities. So it's really not you doing it. And I'm like, you guys don't understand. And it's so heartbreaking and frustrating to hear them say that. But I'm like, I know what I'm doing. I know what I'm achieving. My friends know what I'm achieving. And as long as I have somebody that believes in me and is cheering me on with the whole truth in their heart and mind, I think that's all that really matters. But yeah, that's my message. My blindness is not my identity, and your blindness should not be your identity. For those that are losing their visions as adults, I am so sorry you have to experience that. And I know how hard it is to find the right resources in your areas. I know how hard it is to, find light even in the darkness. But when you're ready, I know you'll be able to do it, and I know you can. And I'm not perfect at this. I'm not good at giving advice. But we can be angry, we can be sad, but work through it and show everyone around you that you're stronger than you even probably thought. As humans, we're very adaptable and we're very resilient. So yeah, thank you guys so much for stopping by, and we will see you guys in the next one.